Okay, hi. So this is going to be a presentation of my senior project. We're going to talk about it a little bit and a little bit about what the different things that we did. But first, I want to take a quick introduction of who I am. I know that we've done that in class, but obviously you haven't been able to kind of put a face to words. So let's just do that real quick. My name is Spencer Males. Of course, I'm a student of the Automotive Technology program, but I also take a lot of the professional sales classes. I graduate next week, and I have been offered a big boy job, I guess if you could call it that, working for Keyence as a industrial product salesman. So specifically, that's going to be optical sensors. So I'm not sure if I'm going to take it yet, but I'm very excited about that prospect. So again, for my senior project, what I did was I participated on the WSU BAJA racing team. And I want to talk a little bit about what that is and why we do it and why I did it. Because I think there's a very good reason to that. And so first off, what it is, of course, a racing competition, but more than that, it's an engineering competition. And it follows the format of a lot of different technical and engineering competitive events out there. So it's not just who's got the fastest car, it's also who designed the best one. So like a lot of engineering competitions like high school robotics, or even all the way up to professional levels like F1 racing, you get judged not just on race performance, but you have to go in front of panels and in front of other things with documents showing how you designed it, the way that you went there, and of course, and other things like that. One of the other kind of more interesting things that we do for BAJA is there's also a sales pitch competition, which I personally will be doing. And the reason for that is because I am the only professional sales student on the team, and I do a lot of presenting and public speaking and things like that. And so I've gotten pretty good at it and pretty used to it. So I feel like I'm going to have a lot to add to the team there. And then, of course, why we do it, kind of the foundational, maybe more emotional side to the Weber State BAJA is that it's racing. And racing, going fast in a car, trying to beat other people, has a special place in the hearts of most motoring enthusiasts. And on top of that, it being an engineering competition as well, it has a wonderful way of teaching you how to do things through doing it, right? And I think it's fun, and it's engaging, and it's just a great and valuable experience for anybody else after me to do. So how we did it is through work, right? So this is kind of like a rundown of what it was like throughout the season working on this project. Usually we met about 3 times a week, and each of those was about 4 hours. There are some other fun things that we did, like we went to the engineering technology building to kind of learn how to use computer operated laser plasma cutters, so we can just put in a sheet of metal and it just cuts out all of our tabs for us instead of having to do that by hand, which was what we did last year, which took a lot of time. And yeah, it's just time, late nights, and things like that. It was a fun experience doing that throughout the season and being part of that and participating with people. Although sometimes I was very tired and definitely was not feeling showing up to BAJA at 8 at night after work and school and all of those things. But it was what it is. That's the life of racing, right? What I added personally to the team was, of course, more of that business side of it. I personally am not the greatest technician in the world. I never have been. I value technical skills, which is why that I kind of engaged in this degree path, but I try and use the technical skills kind of as a base and add and kind of a self or credibility on top of business and more sociable skills. But luckily, I was able to use those, what I'm actually good at, for the team. Like I mentioned earlier, there's going to be a sales pitch competition, but also I kind of headed up the sponsorship side of things and tried to find sponsors for the team. I wasn't super successful doing that, but I was able to kind of refine some of the team's more promotional things. I rewrote a sponsorship letter, which when I got to it was just kind of abysmal. It really written with any real eye for the audience and what the audience of that letter, while reading it, is what they're going to feel and what they're going to think. So I kind of brought that expertise to it. One of the interesting things that I learned while doing this was the value of somebody that specialized in that field. It was kind of funny because I rewrote like the sponsorship letter, and then I had to ask, and I was asking other people on the team to proofread it, and not necessarily proofread it for like grammatical errors, but proofread it for feel. Like, did they think this was a good letter? Was the language, the creative design and decision of it, did they think that's what we wanted to represent the team? And they just really couldn't answer that. Most people were just like, yeah, it's fine, just take it, right? And I needed more of that. And so I had to take it to somebody in Weber State's marketing division to look over it, somebody with kind of a professional eye for those kinds of things, to look over it and see if it was good. And that was interesting, because I used to think that kind of just everybody understood, just knew if something felt right or if not, or if this paper or this thing that was kind of a more of an artistic, a little bit more of an ambiguous kind of quality to it, would just kind of know. But no, there is people that are experts in those kinds of things, and their opinion is valuable. And so it taught me a little bit more about the value of like a hard marketing education and things like that. Our design and build philosophy, this is a little bit harder to talk about because, of course, we as automotive technology students are not engineers. Most of the teams we compete against are engineers, and because of that, their workflow was very different from ours. Their workflow was something like, you figure out the specification of what you want. You then design it in CAD. And before you even plug in your welder or pick up a wrench or whatever, you know exactly how the car is going to look and how it's going to come together and what you want it to accomplish. And then you start building. Us as technicians, as people that know how to work on cars but don't know how to design cars, we did that the opposite way. We just kind of got tube and just started putting it together, and just started putting the car together and made sure that it followed the rules, because there are design rules and specifications that SAE does for safety and also for to keep the race interesting. And so we made sure we were following that, but basically we just kind of threw it together. And then at the end we took measurements and figured things out and put that into the specification sheet. And that is, it's a way to do it. The value of that is, of course, it's actionable. We're actually making the car. We actually have a car at the end of the season, because, of course, design teams can get stuck in the design phase where they can never make a decision and move forward, and they never actually put two pieces of metal together. But I think it's a little too far in the other direction, because, of course, we don't know certain important metrics about the car. Last year, our car was 400 pounds or something like that heavier than the average competitor. And the reason for that is because we're like, oh, we just need to reinforce something, so we just put on more metal and more metal. We don't know when enough is enough. We don't know how to figure out the breaking point of a certain piece on our car. We don't know how to do a failure mode effect analysis or anything like that. And so our car ends up being heavier or whatever, just because we only do what looks right and what seems right. So that is kind of the design philosophy and where we went, and how an automotive technology team goes about building a BAJA. To end, I want to go more in depth on the value of the Weber State BAJA team. Because the value is not simply to win races, although that is a valuable thing. And the value is not simply to have fun, although that is a valuable thing. I very much see the value of something like this as an educational value for the program. I was giving a tour one time, trying to convince people, because I work as a recruiter for Weber State currently, for my entire student life. I've been doing it for 4 years. And one time, somebody asked me what was the most important lesson from high school. And I told them that it was the things that I learned in speech and debate. Because, of course, that's what I was applying. It was those lessons that I learned in that extracurricular that I remembered and that I use on a daily basis. and I'm going to remember and use the things that I did in this extracurricular, this team, because they were things that I used and things that are really going to stick. The problem with class sometimes is you just don't understand what you need to focus on. You don't have a context for the information that's entering your head. And projects and extracurriculars really do that. I firmly believe that the people that participate in these kinds of things are going to be higher quality students and more engaged in class because they now have that context for things that they need, that they're going to learn. And on top of that, if they forgot how to bend brake tube in brake class, or they forgot certain things about transmission dynamics, they're going to have to go and figure that out again now that they are actually counting teeth on our transmission, or actually having to build a brake system or things like that, because now there's pressure and it's pressing on it. So what that is called technically is of course project-based learning, and I think there is space for more project-based learning in my degree. And where I see specifically that could be implemented is in some of the business-focused bachelor's classes. A lot of my bachelor's classes were just read this chapter, do this quiz. And personally, I don't think that is enough. I think you just forget everything that you do from simply reading a chapter in your textbook. But if you have context for the thing that you're reading in your chapter, and you have a reason to find the information and remember the information in a well-designed project, you're going to want to read the book, you're going to want to find information in it that you can use, and it's all going to be a much more quality and valuable time spent on your education. So I think lessons taken from BAJA about how to learn is what the real gold of the program is, because then that can be used to make the entire automotive technology education program a higher quality and better program overall. And last, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to you, Brandon, for teaching us. I really, really enjoyed your advanced automotive technologies classes last semester. I think you really had a passion for it, and any time that you have a professor with a passion, it comes over to the students, and they're so much more engaged in what the information that you're teaching us. So thank you so much for that excellent quality, even for an online class, because it's hard to do a quality online class, for that excellent quality online class. Thank you so much for taking us along on this senior project journey, and thank you so much for your comments. And I hope everything goes well for you, and that's it.